In the heart of New York City, where the skyline pierced the heavens like ambitious dreams, Leona Johnson gazed out from the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse in Harlem. The city lights twinkled below a mosaic of lives intertwining in the relentless pulse of the metropolis. At 28, Leona was a woman of quiet strength, her ebony skin glowing under the soft amber hue of the evening lamps, her curls cascading like midnight waves. She had grown up in the vibrant streets of Harlem, where jazz notes lingered in the air, and resilience was woven into every corner store conversation. Her family, once comfortably middle class, had teetered on the brink of ruin 3 years ago. Her father's real estate investments crumbling under the weight of a market crash, leaving them drowning in debt. That's when the proposition came like a lifeline wrapped in thorns. Owen Harris. The name alone evoked images of power and privilege. A 32-year-old billionaire, white as the crisp snow blanketed Central Park in winter, with sharp blue eyes that could cut through boardroom negotiations like a blade. As CEO of Harris Group, a conglomerate spanning tech, real estate, and philanthropy, Owen was the epitome of American success, born into old money, educated at Ivy League halls, and hardened by a stint in the military that few knew the full details of. His family estate in the Hamptons symbolized an untouchable legacy, where deals were sealed over vintage scotch, and secrets were buried deeper than the ocean tides. Their marriage had been a calculated alliance, not born of passion, but necessity. Owen faced a lawsuit from former employees alleging racial discrimination in hiring practices. This scandal threatened to tarnish his company's image in an era where diversity was not just a buzzword, but a mandate. Marrying Leona, a brilliant PhD candidate in literature from Columbia University, provided the perfect optic, a union bridging divides, showcasing inclusivity. In return, Harris Group infused her family's business with capital, pulling them from the abyss. But it was a contract, 3 years of appearances, no intimacy, no shared dreams. Leona had sacrificed her academic pursuits, abandoning her dissertation on African American literature to play the role of the dutiful wife. Now, as the anniversary loomed, the facade was cracking. Her phone buzzed on the marble countertop, pulling her from her reverie. A simple text from Owen: Ms. Johnson. The mourning period for my father has ended. Our marriage can conclude. When shall we proceed to City Hall? Leona's heart skipped not from sorrow, but from a strange mix of relief and ache. 3 years of silence, of living in separate wings of the Hamptons estate, or her own Harlem apartment when solitude called. No calls, no shared meals, just the occasional public event, where they posed like porcelain figures, smiles, polished, touches absent. She had grown accustomed to the isolation, finding solace in her books and her quiet advocacy work for Harlem's community centers. But deep down in the recesses, where vulnerability hid, she wondered if this was all life offered, a transaction devoid of warmth. She typed back swiftly, "Mr. Harris, divorce suits me fine. The Harris family has too many expectations, ones that don't fit someone like me, raised in Harlem's rhythm, rather than the Hamptons' elegance." His reply was instant-laced, with that clinical detachment she had come to expect. City Hall tomorrow at noon. The settlement, $50 million USD, not a penny less. Leona set the phone down, her fingers trembling slightly. 50 million. Enough to rebuild her family's life tenfold, to fund scholarships for young black scholars, like the one she might have been. Yet it felt like hush money, a balm for the invisible wounds of a loveless union. She poured herself a glass of red wine, the deep crimson swirling like unspoken regrets. Outside, the city hummed with possibility couples strolling hand in hand along the Hudson, dreams igniting in Broadway lights. Why had she agreed to this pride desperation, or the faint hope that beneath Owen's icy exterior lay a man capable of seeing her, truly seeing her beyond her skin color, or the utility of her presence? The next morning dawned crisp September's early chill, hinting at the autumn. Leona dressed meticulously, a tailored black pantsuit, accentuating her graceful figure, gold earrings that caught the light like stars against her dark complexion. She arrived at City Hall early, the iconic steps bustling with tourists and bureaucrats. Owen was already there, his tall frame cutting an imposing silhouette in a bespoke navy suit, his blonde hair impeccably styled. His eyes met hers, cool, assessing, as if she were a business associate rather than the woman who bore his name. Ms. Johnson. He greeted, his voice smooth as polished marble, devoid of warmth. Mr. Harris. She replied, her tone steady, despite the flutter in her chest. Up close, he was even more striking. Chiseled jaw, broad shoulders from years of disciplined fitness, a faint scar along his temple from his military days, a reminder of battles fought far from boardrooms. They entered the clerk's office, and the paperwork was a blur of signatures and stamps. As the clerk processed the dissolution, Owen leaned in slightly. This arrangement served its purpose. The lawsuit was dropped, and our images are intact. Leona nodded, but her mind wandered to the nights she had spent alone reading poetry by Maya Angelou, finding echoes of her caged spirit. And now we move on, she said softly, her voice carrying a subtle melody of Harlem's soulful cadence. He glanced at her, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. Curiosity. Regret, indeed. The funds will be transferred by the end of the week. Leona felt a weight lift as they stepped out into the sunlight, yet a void remained. She hailed a cab back to Harlem, the city blurring past. Little did she know, Owen lingered on the steps watching her depart. She was an enigma in his mind, poised yet fiery, intelligent, yet seemingly content with the shadows. He had assumed her motives were mercenary, but her quiet dignity unsettled him. For the first time in 3 years, Owen Harris wondered if he had misjudged the woman who had been his wife. Back in her apartment, Leona unpacked the remnants of their shared life, a few designer dresses from obligatory galas, a necklace from his mother as a wedding gift. She called her best friend Mia, a fellow Columbia alum. "It's over, Mia. The papers are signed." Mia's voice crackled with indignation. "Good riddance. That man treated you like a prop. You're free now, Leona. Free to chase that PhD, to live without the weight of his world." Leona smiled faintly, but her thoughts drifted to Owen's piercing gaze. She echoed free, though some of her wondered if freedom tasted as sweet, without the challenge of connection. Meanwhile, at Harris Group's towering headquarters in Midtown Manhattan, Owen reviewed quarterly reports, his mind elsewhere. His assistant James entered. "Sir, the mall acquisition in Manhattan, double the price as instructed." Owen nodded absently. "Good. Keep an eye on it." Unbeknownst to Leona, he had purchased the mall where she often shopped, a subtle move born from an impulse he couldn't name. Was it protection control or the first stirrings of something more profound? As evening fell, Leona walked Harlem streets, the aroma of soul food wafting from corner eateries, children laughing in playgrounds. She felt alive, unburdened. Yet in the quiet moments, she pondered the man she had married, the enigma of Owen Harris, whose cold exterior masked wounds she had never been allowed to touch. Little did she know, fate, or perhaps destiny's gentle nudge, was far from done with them. The days blurred into a routine of rediscovery. Leona volunteered at a local literacy program. Her passion for literature reignited like a dormant flame. She applied to resume her PhD at Columbia, her application essay, a poignant reflection on identity and resilience. She wrote that we find our true light in the shadows of expectation. Owen conversely buried himself in work. Board meetings, philanthropy events, his life a whirlwind of power plays. But at night, in the vast emptiness of his Hamptons estate, he replayed their brief encounters. Her laugh was rare but genuine. Her eyes were dark pools of intelligence. Why had he never sought more? Fear of vulnerability, perhaps, was forged in the fires of his military past, where trust was a luxury. One evening, as rain pattered against his windows, Owen scrolled through old photos, public appearances, where Leona stood beside him, her smile a beacon. He texted James' monitor, Miss Johnson's activities discreetly. James replied, "Understood, sir." Thus began a subtle dance, unseen threads pulling them closer. Sensing a shift in the air, Leona dreamed of blue eyes and unspoken words. The city, with its endless possibilities, whispered of second chances. The bustling corridors of Manhattan Mall echoed with the symphony of shoppers' heels clicking on marble floors, laughter mingling with the scent of luxury perfumes. Leona Johnson navigated the crowds with effortless grace, her shopping bags light, but her spirit buoyed by newfound independence. It had been a week since the divorce papers, and she treated herself to a day of indulgence. A new dress from a boutique, perhaps some jewelry to symbolize her rebirth. Her rich mahogany skin contrasted beautifully with the emerald green blouse she tried on its fabric, hugging her curves like a lover's embrace. As she emerged from the fitting room, two women, blonde, impeccably dressed in designer labels, blocked her path. Their eyes narrowed, lips curling in disdain. "Look at her," one sneered loud enough for Leona to hear. "Thinks she belongs here, parading around like she's one of us. Probably using that Harris money to play dress-up." The other laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. "Yeah, the diversity hire wife. Everyone knows it was a sham. White billionaire marries black girl to dodge lawsuits. Pathetic. Go back to Harlem where you fit in." Leona's blood boiled, a fire ignited by years of subtle slights and overt prejudices. In Harlem, she had learned to stand tall, but in this temple of excess, the words stung like salt on old wounds. She stepped forward, her voice steady, laced with the quiet power of her ancestors. "Excuse me, but your ignorance is showing. You should educate yourselves before speaking on lives you know nothing about." The first woman flushed, stepping closer. "How dare you? You're nothing but a gold digger climbing social ladders on your back." Leona's hand moved before her mind caught up a sharp slap echoing through the store. The woman gasped, clutching her cheek. "You bitch!" Security chaos ensued. Shoppers gawked, murmurs rippling like waves. The manager rushed in flustered. "Ladies, please." But before escalation, a voice cut through. "Enough." A tall figure approached Owen Harris, though Leona didn't recognize him immediately. In casual attire, a baseball cap shadowing his features. He had been in the mall for a routine inspection, and his ownership was a secret. Witnessing the scene via security feeds, he intervened personally, his presence commanding silence. Owen stated firmly that these women are to be escorted out, his blue eyes flashing, and revoke their VIP status across all my properties. The manager nodded vigorously. "Yes, Mr. Harris." Leona's eyes widened in recognition. "Owen, what are you?" He turned to her, his expression unreadable, but softened by a hint of concern. "Ms. Johnson, are you all right?" She nodded, composing herself. "I can handle myself. But thank you." The women protested, but security led them away. As the store quieted, Owen lingered. That was uncalled for. Prejudice has no place here. Leona met his gaze, her dark eyes searching his. It never does. But in America, it's as common as the air we breathe. He paused, the weight of her words sinking in. His military days had exposed him to camaraderie across races, yet back home divides persisted. "Walk with me," he suggested, surprising even himself. They strolled the mall's avenues, an unlikely pair drawing curious glances. Owen, typically aloof, found himself drawn to her poise. "Why here of all places?" he asked. Leona smiled faintly, her lips curving like a secret. "Retail therapy. After everything." He nodded, the divorce hanging unspoken. "I own this mall. I acquired it last week and doubled the price for strategic reasons." Her eyebrows arched. Always the businessman. As they talked, layers peeled away. Leona shared snippets of her Harlem upbringing, the jazz clubs where dreams were born, and the struggles of being a black woman in academia. Owen listened, his usual reserve cracking. He spoke of his father's death, the empire's burdens, and his Iraq tours, where survival trumped color. They sat at a cafe overlooking the atrium with coffees hers, black and strong, his with a splash of cream. "Our marriage," Owen ventured, "was a shield for me. But for you," Leona sighed, her fingers tracing the cup's rim. "A necessity, my family's salvation. But it cost me my path." The conversation flowed like a gentle stream, revealing vulnerabilities. Owen felt a pull. Her intelligence and fire ignited something dormant. Leona, too, saw beyond his facade, a man haunted by losses seeking connection. As they parted, Owen's hand brushed hers accidentally, a spark igniting. "Take care, Leona. You too, Owen." Back at Harris Group, Owen pondered the encounter. James entered. "Sir, the mall incident has been handled." "Good. And Ms. Johnson?" "Safe, sir." Owen stared out at the skyline, the city a canvas of possibilities. In Harlem, Leona replayed the day, her heart stirring with unexpected warmth. The racial clash had forged an unlikely bridge, setting the stage for destinies to entwine. The sprawling estate in the Hamptons stood as a testament to generations of the Harris legacy, its manicured lawns rolling like emerald waves toward the Atlantic's horizon. Salt-kissed breezes whispered through ancient oaks, carrying the faint echo of waves crashing against distant shores. During the opulent solitude, Owen Harris found himself ensnared in a web of familial expectations he had long evaded. His mother, Eleanor Harris, a formidable philanthropist, whose sharp wit and unyielding grace had shaped boardrooms and charity galas alike, had always been the quiet architect of his life. Now, in the wake of his father's passing, her gaze turned piercing, dissecting the hollow shell of his marriage with surgical precision. Eleanor arrived unannounced one crisp afternoon, her chauffeur-driven Bentley gliding up the winding drive like a shadow of inevitability. Fresh from a grueling conference call in his study, where deals worth billions hung in the balance, Owen greeted her with the polished courtesy he reserved for allies and adversaries alike. "Mother, to what do I owe this pleasure?" Her eyes a mirror of his own, blue intensity narrowed as she stepped into the grand foyer, her silver hair coiffed impeccably, a string of pearls gleaming against her cashmere sweater. "Pleasure hardly, Owen. I've come because whispers reach even the Hamptons' ivory towers. Your marriage to Leona has been 3 years, and yet you live like strangers under the same roof. Separate wings, separate lives. It's unbecoming of a Harris." Owen stiffened, his jaw tightening as he led her to the sunlit parlor overlooking the gardens. The room was a symphony of elegance, crystal vases blooming with fresh orchids, leather-bound books lining mahogany shelves. But beneath the veneer, tension simmered. "It's a private matter, Mother. Our arrangement has served its purpose." Eleanor's laugh was soft, laced with steel. "Arrangement. Darling, marriage is not a contract clause. It's a foundation. And yours crumbles while you chase empires." She paused, her gaze drifting to a family portrait on the mantel. Owen as a boy, his father stern beside him. "Your father built this legacy on unity, not facades. I've tolerated your distance, but no more. I'm immediately freezing your access to the family trust's discretionary funds, 10 million annually diverted to charity, until you rectify this. The words landed like a financial guillotine, severing Owen's autonomy in one swift stroke. His mind raced. Those funds fueled his personal ventures, from tech startups to discreet philanthropy. Mother, this is extortion. Call it motivation, she replied, her tone unyielding, yet tinged with maternal concern. Move back to the estate with Leona. Live as husband and wife, or face the consequences. I've already informed the staff. As Eleanor departed, her parting words lingered like a challenge. She's more than you deserve, Owen. See her, truly. See her before it's too late. Owen paced the study, fury and frustration coiling within him like a storm. How dare she meddle? Yet deep down, a sliver of doubt pierced his armor. The memory of Leona's resilience at the mall. Her quiet strength that both intrigued and unsettled him. He summoned James, his trusted assistant. Prepare the estate for my return, and inform Ms. Johnson that she must join me. Leona received the call while volunteering at a Harlem community center, her hands dusted with chalk from teaching a literature class to wide-eyed teens. The stories of Zora Neale Hurston filled the air, tales of black women defying odds. When James relayed the directive, her heart sank. The estate. Why now, Mrs. Harris insists, James said diplomatically. It's non-negotiable. Leona arrived at the Hamptons that evening, the drive from Harlem, a journey through shifting worlds from urban vibrancy to secluded opulence. The estate loomed like a gilded cage, its lights warm against the twilight. Owen met her at the door, commanding yet shadowed by unspoken turmoil. Leona, thank you for coming. Her eyes, dark and discerning, met his. It wasn't a choice, your mother's decree. He nodded, leading her inside. The air hummed with tension, the grand hall echoing their footsteps. She's concerned about appearances. We'll share the main wing meals and evenings, but boundaries remain. Leona's laugh was soft, bittersweet. Boundaries in a marriage. How novel. She set her bag down, her posture blending grace and guardedness. Fine, but know this. Owen, I won't be a puppet in your family's theater. As stars blanketed the sky that night, they dined in the opulent dining room, candlelight flickering over crystal and china. The meal was exquisite seared scallops with a citrus reduction and a vintage Chardonnay. Conversation flowed tentatively, like a river testing new banks. Owen spoke of his latest acquisition, a tech firm revolutionizing AI ethics. Leona listened, and her insights were sharp. Ethics in AI. Ensure it doesn't perpetuate biases. Owen, the world has enough of those. He regarded her anew, her intelligence a beacon in the dim light. You've studied this? Literature teaches patterns, she replied, her voice a melody of conviction. Stories reveal the human code, flaws and all. As dessert arrived, poached pears drizzled in honey. Their eyes lingered, a silent dialogue unfolding. Owen felt a pull, her presence stirring embers he had long ignored. Leona, too, sensed the shift, her heart whispering possibilities amid the uncertainty. But the quarrel erupted the next morning, fueled by Eleanor's unyielding oversight. She called, her voice crackling over the speakerphone as Owen prepared for a day in the city. Have you moved in properly? No more separations. Owen. Leona, overhearing from the adjoining room, entered with coffee in hand. Mrs. Harris, with respect, this isn't a merger. It's our lives. Eleanor responded quickly. Leona, dear, I chose you for your strength. Prove it by building something real. Owen slammed the phone down, frustration boiling over. This is absurd. She's punishing me financially, freezing funds until we unite. Leona's eyes flashed. And I'm the collateral. Dragged here like an accessory. Their voices rose, echoing through the halls. Owen accused her of complacency. Leona countered with his emotional detachment. You've hidden behind walls. Owen, military scars, business shields. When will you let someone in? He stepped closer. The air charged. And you always composed, always distant. What are you hiding? In the heat, truths spilled: Owen's guilt over his father's expectations, Leona's sacrifice of her dreams. The argument peaked with Owen storming to the balcony, the ocean's roar mirroring his turmoil. Leona followed her touch on his arm, tentative. We're both prisoners here, but perhaps allies. He turned his hand, covering hers. The contact sent ripples through them, a bridge forming amid the storm. As the sun climbed higher, they sat in silence, the quarrel's embers cooling into understanding. Eleanor's intervention had forced proximity, but seeds of intimacy took root in its wake. Days blurred into a rhythm of shared spaces. Owen worked from the estate study. Leona resumed her writing a novel, weaving Harlem tales with modern struggles. Evenings brought walks along the beach, where waves lapped at their feet, eroding barriers. One night, under a canopy of stars, Owen shared a military memory, a comrade lost in Iraq, teaching him life's fragility. Leona listened, her hand slipping into his. Vulnerability isn't weakness, Owen. It's the start of strength. He squeezed gently, his thumb tracing her skin. Then teach me, Leona. Their eyes met, a spark, igniting romance blooming like night jasmine, subtle yet intoxicating. The financial penalty loomed, but in these moments, it faded, replaced by the allure of what could be. Yet, as the week ended, a call from Eleanor hinted at more tests. Prove your unity at the family gala next month. Owen and Leona exchanged glances, the quarrel's residue fueling determination. Their worlds collided in the Hamptons' embrace, forging a bond tempered by fire. The Hamptons' estate, with its whispering winds and sun-dappled verandas, became a canvas for the unfolding tapestry of Owen and Leona's shared existence. Mornings dawned with the aroma of fresh coffee brewing in the expansive kitchen, where sunlight streamed through French doors, painting golden patterns on the granite counters. Owen, accustomed to solitary routines, now found himself navigating the intimate dance of cohabitation, his razor beside her skincare, their reflections mingling in the steamed bathroom mirror. Leona embraced the change quietly, her days filled with purpose. She transformed a sunroom into her writing nook, surrounded by stacks of notebooks and Columbia texts. Her fingers flying across the keyboard as she poured her soul into prose. The novel took shape, a story of a Black woman reclaiming her narrative in a world of expectations, echoes of her journey woven into every line. Afternoons brought walks in the estate's gardens, where roses bloomed in defiant reds, mirroring her inner fire. Owen, meanwhile, balanced empire building with this new domesticity. His study hummed with calls to Midtown executives, but he stole moments to observe Leona, her laughter as she read aloud from a draft, her brow furrowed in concentration. Misunderstandings began subtly, like clouds gathering on the horizon. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, a collaborative effort of grilled salmon and quinoa salad, Owen mentioned an upcoming business trip to Silicon Valley. It'll be brief. 2 days. Leona paused, her knife hovering over fresh herbs. Alone. Of course, he replied, mistaking her tone for jealousy rather than concern. Work demands it. She nodded, but doubt flickered. Was he retreating again, using distance as a shield? Sensing her withdrawal, Owen interpreted it as disinterest, a barrier he couldn't breach. These small rifts accumulated, unspoken words piling like unsent letters. Nights tested them further. Sharing the main suite of vast space with a 4-poster bed draped in silk brought vulnerability to the fore. Leona slipped into bed first, her nightgown a whisper of satin against her skin. Owen joined later, the mattress dipping under his weight. Good night, He murmured, his voice a low rumble. "Sweet dreams," she replied, turning away to hide the flush on her cheeks. In the darkness, awareness bloomed his steady breathing, the warmth radiating from his side. One night, a storm raged outside, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. Leona stirred instinctively, seeking comfort, her hand brushing his arm. Owen tensed, misunderstanding her touch as an accidental intrusion. "Leona, sorry," she whispered, pulling back. But in that moment, desire flickered a magnetic pull, drawing them closer. He turned his hand, finding hers. "Don't be." Their fingers intertwined, a silent promise amid the tempest. Misunderstandings deepened the next day when Owen overheard Leona on a call with Mia. "It's complicated. He's kind but guarded." He assumed she regretted the proximity, fueling his own insecurities. Emotional challenges mounted at a charity event. Eleanor hosted an elegant soiree in the estate's ballroom, crystal chandeliers casting prisms over gowns and tuxedos. Guests mingled whispers of Owen's diverse marriage, circulating like fine wine. A rival investor, slick and condescending, approached Leona. "Mrs. Harris, how does it feel to bridge worlds? Quite the fairy tale." Her smile was poised, but her eyes flashed. "Fairy tales are for children. This is reality built on mutual respect." Owen nearby misinterpreted her defensiveness as discomfort, with him not the patronizing tone. Later in the garden, under moonlight, he confronted her. "If this is too much, say so." Leona whirled, frustration spilling. "Too much, Owen. It's the assumptions the world's seeing me as your token. But you pull away when I reach out." He stepped closer, the air electric. "I pull away. You're the one building walls with every glance." Their voices rose, emotions raw. His fear of rejection rooted in military losses, her guarded heart from societal scars. "I've lost too much to risk more," he admitted, voice cracking. "And I've fought for everything," she countered, tears glistening. "But with you, I want to try." The confession hung as a bridge over the chasm. Owen cupped her face, his thumb brushing a tear. "Then let's try." Their lips met, a tentative kiss, deepening into passion. The garden's blooms were witnesses to their surrender. Misunderstandings dissolved in that embrace, replaced by tentative trust. In the following weeks, daily life wove intimacy, shared breakfasts, where laughter echoed evenings debating literature and business ethics. Owen surprised her with a first-edition Hurston novel. Leona cooked soul food flavors, evoking Harlem's warmth. Yet challenges persisted. A misinterpreted email from an old flame of Owen's sparked doubt, resolved only through vulnerable dialogue. As autumn leaves turned golden, their bond strengthened misunderstandings, forging a deeper connection. The estate, once a cage, became a sanctuary. But Eleanor's gala loomed a test of their unity. In the quiet nights, Owen held Leona close, whispering, "We're in this together." She smiled against his chest. "Always." The glittering lights of Wall Street's elite ballroom cast a golden haze over the evening, transforming the venue into a realm where fortunes were forged and alliances whispered into existence. Crystal chandeliers dangled like stars, captured from the night sky, their facets refracting the laughter and murmurs of New York's power brokers. Ever the commanding figure in his tailored tuxedo, Owen Harris navigated the crowd with the ease of a man born to it, his broad shoulders cutting through clusters of suits and gowns like a ship through calm waters. Beside him, Leona Harris moved with an effortless poise that turned heads, her midnight blue gown hugging her curves like a lover's secret, its silk shimmering against her rich ebony skin. Her curls were swept into an elegant updo, adorned with a single diamond clip that caught the light like a promise. This was no mere social affair. It was a high-stakes negotiation disguised as a gala. Owen's eyes scanned the room for the elusive Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair international investors, whose capital could propel Harris Group's latest venture, a sustainable tech initiative, blending AI with urban renewal into the stratosphere. Leona, now an integral part of his world, had agreed to accompany him, her sharp intellect a weapon he was only beginning to appreciate. "Remember," he murmured, as they entered, his breath warm against her ear, "the Sinclairs value authenticity. Be yourself." Leona's lips curved into a knowing smile, her dark eyes sparkling with mischief, as if I could be anything else. The evening unfolded like a carefully scripted play. They mingled, Owen introducing Leona with a pride that surprised even him. My wife, Leona, a visionary in her own right. Conversations flowed, including discussions on equity in tech and diversity's role in innovation. Leona shone her insights on Harlem's revitalization, drawing nods from the Sinclairs themselves. Mrs. Sinclair, a poised woman with silver-streaked hair, leaned in. "Mrs. Harris, your perspective is refreshing. In a room full of echoes, you're a voice." As the night deepened, jealousy stirred its subtle venom. Across the room, Dr. Marcus Hale, a tall, charismatic black physician, and Leona's old acquaintance from Colombia, approached with a warm grin. "Leona, it's been ages. Still changing the world one word at a time." Leona laughed, a sound like summer rain, embracing him lightly. "Marcus, you flatter me. And you. Saving lives as always." Owen watched from afar, a knot forming in his chest, an unfamiliar twist he couldn't name. Marcus's hand lingered on her arm, a fraction too long, his eyes alight with shared history. Owen's jaw clenched. Was this envy? He excused himself from his conversation, striding over with purposeful grace. "Darling," he said, slipping an arm around Leona's waist, his touch possessive, yet tender. "Introduce me to your friend." Leona's eyes flickered with surprise, but she complied. "Owen, this is Dr. Marcus Hale, an old study partner from grad school." Marcus extended a hand, his grip firm. "Pleasure, Mr. Harris." Leona's brilliance was legendary even then. Owen nodded coolly, his blue eyes assessing. "I'm sure. Excuse us. We have a toast to make." As they moved away, Leona whispered, "What was that about?" "Nothing," Owen replied, though his pulse betrayed him. The jealousy simmered, a quiet storm brewing beneath his composed exterior. The drama escalated at the private lounge where the Sinclairs awaited. Tensions rose when Victor Lang, the spoiled heir to a rival firm, cornered Leona near the bar. His leer was unmistakable, his words slurred with entitlement. "Mrs. Harris, or should I say, the trophy. How'd a girl from Harlem snag the golden boy? Must be quite the arrangement." Leona's spine straightened, her voice a blade wrapped in velvet. "Mr. Lang, your assumptions are as outdated as your family's fortunes. Step back." He laughed, grabbing her arm. "Feisty. I like that." In a flash, Leona twisted free, her heel connecting with his shin in a sharp kick that sent him stumbling. The room hushed as Victor yelped, drawing eyes. "You." Owen materialized like a guardian shadow, his fist clenching. But Leona held up a hand. "I've got this." Turning to Victor, she said calmly, "Touch me again, and your reputation will crumble." The Sinclairs, witnessing the exchange, approached. Mr. Sinclair's eyes gleamed with respect. "Impressive composure, Mrs. Harris. Victor's antics are legendary and tiresome." Victor snarled, lunging forward, but Owen intercepted, his voice thunderous. "Enough. Security. As Victor was escorted out, the Sinclairs turned to Owen. Your wife is a force. We'd be honored to partner with Harris Group on one condition, more collaborations like this. The deal was sealed over champagne, but the night's victory was personal. In a quiet alcove, Owen pulled Leona close. You were magnificent. She met his gaze, her breath mingling with his. And you. Jealous. He chuckled softly, his fingers tracing her jaw. Perhaps. Marcus seemed familiar. Leona's laughter was a balm. Old friends, nothing more. But your protectiveness, it's endearing. Their lips brushed in a stolen kiss, the world fading to the rhythm of their hearts. Jealousy had ignited a spark revealing depths of care neither had voiced. In the days that followed, collaboration deepened. Leona joined Owen in strategy sessions, her ideas reshaping projects, infusing Harlem-inspired community tech hubs into the portfolio. Evenings at the estate grew intimate candlelit dinners where confessions flowed like wine. Owen shared a vulnerable memory from Iraq, a near miss that taught him life's brevity. Leona listened, her hand in his, whispering, "You're more than your scars." Jealousy lingered as a gentle teacher prompting honesty. When a business associate flirted with Leona at a luncheon, Owen's subtle claim his arm around her spoke volumes. She teased him later under the estate's starry canopy. Possessive Mr. Harris. Protective, he corrected, pulling her into an embrace that melted into passion. The brawl's aftermath brought growth. Victor's firm suffered backlash, solidifying the Sinclairs' alliance. Owen and Leona's bond, forged in fire, blossomed jealousy, a catalyst for unspoken affections to surface. Moonlight filtered through the estate's glass-domed solarium, casting ethereal patterns on the indoor pool's surface, a serene oasis where water met whispers of the night. The Hamptons' air carried a crisp tang mingling with the faint chlorine scent that evoked memories of carefree summers long past. Owen Harris lounged on a chaise, his muscular frame relaxed in swim trunks, and the scar on his torso was a faint reminder of battles he had endured. Leona emerged from the changing room, her swimsuit a sleek one-piece that accentuated her elegant form, her skin glowing like polished onyx under the soft lights. She had suggested a late-night swim to unwind after a day of intense negotiations, her laughter echoing as she dove in gracefully. The water enveloped her like a lover's caress, cool and invigorating. Owen watched, mesmerized by her fluid strokes, how droplets clung to her curls like diamonds. "Join me," she called, her voice a siren song. He slid in the splash, breaking the tranquility. They swam laps side by side, the rhythm syncing their breaths. As they paused at the edge, panting lightly, intimacy wove its spell. "Tell me about Iraq," Leona said softly, her hand resting on the pool's rim beside his. Not the glory, the truth. Owen's eyes darkened, vulnerability surfacing like hidden depths. It was chaos. Friends lost in ambushes, decisions that haunt. "I built walls to survive." Leona's fingers brushed his. "Those walls protected you then. But now," he turned, water beating on his lashes, "with you, they crumble." The revelation hung a bridge to a deeper connection. Leona shared her past, the pressure of being the first in her family to pursue a PhD, and the microaggressions in academia that chipped at her spirit. "I fought for every inch, Owen. Marrying you. It was a detour, not a defeat." Their gazes locked, the pool's ripples, mirroring the stirrings within. Owen pulled her closer, the water a conduit for their warmth. "You're no detour. You're my awakening." Lips met in a kiss, salted by the pool passion rising like steam. Hands explored tentatively, tracing contours with reverence. The incident unfolded, when Leona slipped on the slick tile, tumbling back into the water with a gasp. Owen dove after, his arms encircling her waist, lifting her to safety. Laughter bubbled as they surfaced, but concern etched his features. "Are you hurt?" "Just my pride," she admitted, clinging to him. In that embrace, barriers dissolved, bodies pressing, hearts aligning. Drying off under fluffy towels, revelations continued. Owen confessed his initial doubts. "I thought our marriage was a mere facade. But you've shown me depth." Leona traced his scar. "And you've given me wings." Intimacy escalated in subtle waves, shared showers, where steam veiled confessions, mornings tangled in sheets with lazy kisses. One evening by the poolside fire pit, Owen gifted her a leather journal for your stories. "Write our chapter." Tears glistened in her eyes. "Our story." He nodded, pulling her into his lap. "It's just beginning." The swimming incident became a turning point, and intimacy bloomed like lotus flowers in still waters. Challenges arose. A misinterpreted late-night call from a colleague sparked doubt, resolved in whispered apologies and fervent reunions. As intimacy grew, so did trust. Leona confided dreams of resuming her studies. Owen pledged support. Together he vowed under the stars. Their world expanded, revelations fostering a love profound and unyielding. The Hamptons estate, bathed in the golden hues of a late September sunset, stood as a silent witness to the evolving dance of Owen and Leona Harris's marriage. The air carried the scent of blooming jasmine, mingling with the salt of the nearby ocean, as if nature conspired to weave romance into their days. Inside, the grand dining hall glowed with candlelight, where Owen and Leona shared quiet dinners, their conversations a tapestry of shared dreams and tentative confessions. Yet beneath this newfound intimacy, the world outside pressed against their fragile bond, threatening to unravel it with whispers of rivalry and familial greed. Leona had grown accustomed to the estate's rhythms, the soft clink of china, the rustle of leaves beyond the windows, Owen's low laughter as they debated literature or business ethics. But the outside world refused to stay silent. At Harris Group's gleaming Midtown headquarters, a storm brewed in the form of Claire Winston, a childhood friend of Owen's, whose porcelain beauty and calculated charm masked an unrequited longing. Claire, a daughter of old New York money, had known Owen since their prep school days, and her affection for him was a quiet ember that flared whenever Leona's presence threatened her illusions. Claire arrived unannounced one morning, her designer heels clicking assertively on the marble floors of Harris Group's executive suite. Leona was there reviewing community outreach proposals, a passion project integrating Harlem's cultural heritage into the company's urban tech initiatives. Clad in a tailored blazer and skirt, her curls cascading freely, Leona exuded a quiet authority that drew admiring glances from staff. Claire, however, saw only a rival. Leon greeted her, her smile sharp as cut glass. "I didn't expect to find you here playing corporate wife." Leona's eyes narrowed, sensing the undercurrent of disdain. "Claire, I'm not playing. I'm contributing. Try it sometime." Claire's laugh was a tinkling mockery. "Contributing? Sweetheart, you're a prop in Owen's diversity campaign. Everyone knows it." She leaned closer, her voice a venomous whisper. "I've known him forever. He'll tire of this arrangement." The words stung, echoing the societal sneers Leona had endured, whispers of being a token wife. Her blackness, a convenient shield for Owen's empire. But she stood taller, her voice steady. "Claire, your history with Owen doesn't entitle you to his future. Step carefully." Before Claire could retort, Owen entered his presence, commanding silence. His blue eyes flicked between the women, sensing the tension. Claire. What brings you here? Just catching up, darling. Claire purred, her hand brushing his arm. We could discuss the upcoming gala. Owen stepped back, his tone cool. Leona handles our philanthropy events now. Speak with her. Claire's smile faltered, but she pressed on, turning to Leona. Then you can enlighten me on your vision. Leona held her gaze unflinching. It's simple equity, impact, authenticity. Something you might not grasp, given your penchant for nostalgia over progress. The air crackled, and Owen intervened, his voice firm. Claire, your input isn't needed here. Leave. Claire's departure was swift, her heels echoing a retreat, but not before she shot Leona a look of pure venom. Owen turned to Leona, his expression softening. She's no threat to you. Leona's lips curved, a mix of defiance and vulnerability. I know, but the world she represents, that's the battle. Their hands brushed a silent vow of alliance. But the conflict with Claire was a mere prelude to the storm awaiting in Harlem, where Leona's family faced its own turmoil. After their financial woes, Leona's parents, residing in a modest brownstone, had welcomed her Aunt Evelyn and cousin Tasha. Evelyn, a woman of sharp ambition and sharper tongue, saw Leona's marriage as a golden ticket. When Leona visited, intending to share a soul food dinner, collard greens and cornbread evoking childhood warmth, she found chaos. Tasha, rummaging through Leona's old room, clutched a pearl necklace, a wedding gift from Owen's mother valued at millions. Leona, darling. Evelyn cooed, her eyes glinting with greed. You're swimming in wealth now. Surely you can spare a trinket for family. Leona's heart sank, betrayal mingling with fury. That's a family heirloom, not a handout. Please put it back. Tasha smirked, twirling the pearls. Why, you're Mrs. Harris. You've got plenty. Before Leona could respond, Owen arrived unannounced, his presence a quiet storm. He had come to discuss a business deal with Leona's father, a real estate consultant whose expertise he valued. Sensing the tension, he stepped forward. What's this about? Leona explained, her voice trembling with restrained anger. They think my marriage is a piggy bank. Evelyn's bravado faltered under Owen's icy gaze. Mr. Harris, we're just helping the family. Owen's response was steel. Family respects boundaries. You've crossed them. He pulled out his phone, dialing his attorney. James, draft eviction notices for Ms. Evelyn and her daughter. They leave by morning. Evelyn gasped, and Tasha dropped the necklace. You can't, I can. Owen set his arm encircling Leona. This is Leona's home, her legacy. You've exploited it long enough. As the relatives scrambled to plead, Leona's parents emerged, their faces etched with shame. Leona, we're sorry, her mother whispered. We didn't know how to stop them. Leona hugged them, tears glistening. It's okay, Mama. We'll rebuild together. That night at the estate, Owen and Leona sat by the fireplace, its flames casting shadows that danced like their emotions. Leona said, You didn't have to do that, her voice soft. I did. Owen replied, his hand finding hers. You're my wife, Leona, not just in name. Her breath caught the word wife, carrying new weight. She leaned into him, their foreheads touching, the crackle of the fire, a symphony to their closeness. Thank you, Owen. He kissed her gently, a promise sealed in warmth. The expulsion of her greedy relatives had cleared a path, but Claire's lingering presence hinted at future battles. Yet in this moment, their bond was a fortress, unyielding and radiant. The days that followed were a delicate balance of trust and tension. Leona spearheaded a community project, and her passion for Harlem's youth was shining through. Owen supported her, his pride evident in quiet gestures, a hand on her back during meetings, a whispered, I'm proud of you after a presentation. But Claire's shadow loomed, her whispers in social circles, painting Leona as an opportunist. One evening, as they walked the estate's beach, waves lapping at their feet, Leona voiced her fears. Claire's words echo what others think. "I'm here for your money and your name." Owen stopped, turning her to face him. Moonlight illuminated his features, softening the edges of his scars. "Let them talk. You're here for me, Leona, and I'm here for you." Their kiss was fierce, a defiance of the world's judgments. The conflict with Claire and Leona's family had tested them, but it forged a deeper alliance, one that promised to weather any storm. The hallowed halls of Columbia University pulsed with the energy of its annual alum reunion, a grand affair held in the Lowe Memorial Library, where stained glass windows cast kaleidoscopic patterns across marble floors. The air buzzed with nostalgia, laughter, and the clink of glasses as scholars and professionals mingled under the weight of shared histories. Resplendent in a crimson gown that flowed like a river of passion, Leona Harris arrived with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. She had been invited by her former mentor, Professor Helen Carter, to assist in selecting a match for Helen's son, a young doctor with a promising career. Always loyal to those who had shaped her, Leona agreed, unaware of the storm awaiting her. The library's grandeur was a stark contrast to the intimate struggles of her heart. Over the past weeks, her bond with Owen had deepened, shared nights, whispered confessions, the warmth of his touch grounding her in a way she hadn't anticipated. Yet the specter of their contractual marriage lingered, a shadow cast by their impending third anniversary and the looming possibility of divorce. Leona pushed the thought aside, focusing on the evening's task, her smile a beacon of warmth as she greeted old professors and classmates. The event took a turn when Owen arrived unexpectedly, his presence a jolt of electricity. He had been invited as a guest speaker, and his status as a Columbia alumnus and philanthropist made him a prized guest. Dressed in a charcoal suit that hugged his frame, his blue eyes scanned the room, landing on Leona with an intensity that made her breath catch. She stood beside Helen's son, Michael, a kind but unremarkable man whose earnest conversation felt like a pale imitation of the fire she shared with Owen. Michael, oblivious to the undercurrents, gestured animatedly. "Leona, you'd love the medical conference in Boston next month. Could you join me?" Before she could respond, Owen approached, his voice low but commanding. "Leona, a word." She followed him to a quiet alcove, the crowd's din fading. His eyes burned with an emotion she couldn't name, anger, hurt, or both. "What's this?" he asked, gesturing to Michael. "You're here playing matchmaker while we're still married." Leona's heart sank, misunderstanding fueling her defense. "Helen asked me to help. It's not what you think, Owen. Not what I think." His voice rose, drawing curious glances. "You're out here acting single while I—" He stopped, his jaw tightening. "At the same time, I'm falling for you." The confession hung raw and unguarded, a crack in his stoic facade. Leona's eyes welled with tears, the weight of their shared journey crashing over her. "Owen, I didn't mean to hide us. I was afraid of disappointing them." She gestured to the professors, her voice breaking. "They saw so much in me, and I gave it up for us, for my family. If they knew I married for money, not love." Owen's expression softened, his hand reaching for hers. "You didn't marry for money, Leona. You are married to save your family. And now, you're keeping me." Tears spilled, and she stepped into his arms, the world narrowing to the beat of his heart. "I didn't want to admit it, Owen, but I'm falling too." The crowd hushed as Professor Carter approached, sensing the drama. "Leona, is everything all right?" Leona turned, her voice steady despite the tears. "Professor, I need to be honest. I've been married to Owen Harris for 3 years. It began as an arrangement, but..." She looked at Owen, her smile radiant. "It's become real." Gasps rippled through the room, followed by murmurs of surprise and admiration. Owen stepped forward, his arm around her. "Leona is my wife in every sense, and I'm honored to stand beside her." The public acknowledgement was a seismic shift, a declaration that silenced doubters and reshaped their narrative. Professor Carter's eyes softened. "Leona, you've always been extraordinary. This only proves it." As the evening continued, Owen and Leona danced under the chandeliers, their movements a silent vow. The reunion exposed their vulnerabilities, but cemented their bond, a love declared before the world. Back at the estate, they sat on the veranda, stars above mirroring the spark in their eyes. Owen traced her hand, his voice low. "No more hiding, Leona. You're mine, and I'm yours." She leaned into him, her lips brushing his. "Always." The tears and confession had cleared the air, but challenges awaited Claire's schemes, societal whispers, and the looming gala. Yet in this moment, their love was a lighthouse guiding them through any storm. The golden pulse of Fifth Avenue thrummed with life, its boutiques and flagship stores shimmering like jewels under the crisp September sun. In all its frenetic splendor, New York City unfolded before Owen and Leona Harris as they strolled hand in hand, their footsteps a quiet symphony against the cacophony of honking cabs and chattering crowds. The air carried the faint sweetness of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor, mingling with the sharp tang of autumn leaves drifting from Central Park. Leona, radiant in a tailored camel coat that hugged her curves, her ebony curls cascading freely, felt the weight of the past weeks lifting. Owen, dashing in a charcoal overcoat, his blue eyes softened by a rare vulnerability, walked beside her, his hand a steady anchor in a world that often felt unsteady. Their bond, forged through confessions and confrontations, had blossomed into something undeniable, a love that defied the contract that birthed it. The university reunion had been a turning point, their public acknowledgement a bold stroke on the canvas of their shared future. Yet the city's undercurrents of prejudice and doubt lingered, ready to test their newfound harmony. Today, Owen insisted on a shopping spree, a romantic and symbolic gesture, a chance to adorn their commitment with tangible tokens. Inside Tiffany & Company, the air was opulent, the glass cases gleaming with diamonds that caught the light like captured stars. Leona's eyes sparkled as she traced a finger over a display of necklaces, each piece a testament to craftsmanship and desire. Owen stood close, his presence a quiet storm of intensity. "Choose something." He murmured, his voice low and intimate, "Something that feels like us." Leona's lips curved, a playful challenge in her gaze. "Us. That's a tall order, Mr. Harris." He chuckled, the sound warm and unguarded. "Try me." As they browsed a pair of women dressed in designer furs, their expressions pinched with disdain lingered nearby, their whispers cutting through the store's elegance like shards of glass. "Look at her," one muttered loud enough to be heard. "Thinks she belongs here, flashing Harris's money. A black girl from Harlem playing princess. How quaint." The other smirked. "It's all for show. Everyone knows she's just his diversity ticket. They'll be divorced by spring." Leona's spine stiffened, the familiar sting of prejudice piercing her heart. She had endured such barbs throughout her marriage whispers that reduced her to a caricature, ignoring her intellect, her resilience, her love. But today, with Owen's hand in hers, she felt a fire ignite. She turned to face them, her voice steady, laced with the soulful cadence of Harlem. "Ladies, your ignorance is louder than your outfits. My place here is earned, not bought. And my husband. He sees me for who I am, not what you assume. The women flushed, their bravado crumbling under her gaze. Owen stepped forward, his presence a wall of quiet authority. Security. He called, his tone icy. Escort these women out. Their kind of venom isn't welcome here. As the women were led away, their protests fading, the store manager approached, apologetic. Mr. Harris, Mrs. Harris, I'm terribly sorry. Leona cut him off, her smile serene. No need. We're here to celebrate, not to dwell. Owen's eyes met hers, pride and adoration mingling. You're incredible, he whispered, pulling her close. The crowd parted, their chemistry, a tangible force, drawing admiring glances. Fifth Avenue was theirs in that moment, a stage for their defiance and devotion. They settled on a pair of rings, not wedding bands, but promise rings, each set with a sapphire as deep as the ocean, symbolizing trust and eternity. The jeweler described them with reverence. These stones reflect light in 6 directions, like hope radiating through darkness. Leona slipped hers on the cool metal, warming against her skin. Owen mirrored her, his ring a quiet vow. Outside they paused by Central Park, the rings glinting under the sun. Leona leaned into him, her voice soft. You didn't have to confront them, Owen. I can handle it. I know you can, he replied, his fingers tracing the curve of her cheek. But I won't let you face it alone, not anymore. Their lips met, a kiss that tasted of courage and commitment, the city blurring into a backdrop of their love. Passers-by smiled, some snapping photos of Billionaire and his wife defying stereotypes with every step. The spree continued, boutiques yielding treasures, a silk scarf for Leona, its pattern evoking Harlem's vibrant murals. Cufflinks for Owen engraved with a subtle nod to their initials entwined. Each purchase was a brushstroke on their shared canvas, painting a future unmarred by doubt. But the prejudice lingered, a reminder of the world's resistance. At a high-end cafe, a waiter hesitated before serving Leona, his glance flickering to Owen, as if seeking permission. Owen's jaw tightened, but Leona's hand on his calmed the storm. Let's enjoy our coffee, she said, her smile a quiet rebellion. Later, at a quiet bistro overlooking the Hudson, they reflected. Owen's voice was low, confessional. I used to think love was a luxury. I couldn't afford too many scars and battles. But you, Leona, you're my sanctuary. Her eyes glistened, her hand squeezing his. And you're my strength, Owen. We're rewriting the rules. Reconciliation deepened as they shared stories, her childhood dreams of teaching, his fears of failing his father's legacy. With its relentless pulse, the city became a witness to their healing, each moment a step toward unity. As night fell, they returned to the Hamptons, the estate's lights a beacon of home. They stood by the window in their bedroom, the ocean's song a lullaby. Owen pulled her close, his lips brushing her temple. No more doubts, Leona. We face the world together. She nodded, her heart full. Together. The prejudice they faced had tested their resolve, but it also forged an unbreakable bond, a love that shone brighter than any diamond, resilient against the world's shadows. New Year's Eve in the Hamptons unfolded like a dream, woven from starlight and hope. The Harris estate glowed with festive warmth, its grand halls adorned with pine garlands and twinkling lights rivaling the night sky. The air was thick, with the scent of mulled wine and roasted chestnuts, laughter echoing from the ballroom, where Owen's mother, Eleanor, hosted her annual gala. Guests in black tie attire swirled across the polished floors, their voices a symphony of celebration. Outside, snow dusted the grounds, transforming the estate into a winter wonderland. The ocean's distant roar, a reminder of time's ceaseless march. Owen and Leona Harris stood at the heart of it all, a vision of unity. Owen in a tuxedo that accentuated his commanding presence. His blonde hair catching the chandelier's glow radiated a quiet joy. Leona resplendent in a silver gown that shimmered like moonlight on water, her curls adorned with delicate pearls, moved with a grace that captivated the room. Their promise rings gleamed, a silent testament to the journey from contract to love, a path paved with tears, triumphs, and unwavering commitment. The gala was more than a celebration. It was a declaration. Eleanor had insisted on a grand event to showcase their union, a public affirmation that silenced the whispers of New York's elite. Leona felt the weight of eyes upon her, but no longer as a curiosity or a diversity hire. She was Mrs. Harris, beloved and respected, and her intellect and spirit were celebrated as Owen's legacy. As midnight approached, Owen led her to the balcony, the cold air contrasting with the warmth of their entwined hands. The stars above mirrored the promise in his eyes. Leona, he began, his voice a velvet caress. 3 years ago, I saw you as a solution, a means to an end. But you've become my everything. Her heart fluttered, tears prickling. Owen, I thought I was sacrificing my dreams for duty, but with you, I've found new ones. He knelt, a gesture that stole her breath, and produced a velvet box. Inside was a ring, not a replacement, but a renewal, a diamond band, etched with their initials, a symbol of forever. Will you stay, Leona? Not as my contract wife, but as my partner, my love, my home. Tears spilled as she nodded, pulling him to his feet. Yes, Owen, always. Their kiss was a vow sealed under the fireworks that burst above, painting the sky in bursts of gold and crimson. The crowd inside cheered, unaware of the private moment, but swept up in the night's magic. The revelation came days later in the quiet intimacy of their bedroom. Feeling a subtle shift within her, Leona visited a doctor in secret. The news was life-altering. She was pregnant. The weight of it settled like a gentle snowfall, filling her with awe and trepidation. She chose a quiet evening, as they sat by the fireplace, its flames casting shadows that danced like their dreams. Owen, she began, her voice trembling with emotion. There's something you need to know. He turned, sensing the gravity, his hand finding hers. What is it, love? She took a breath, her smile radiant. We're going to be parents. The silence that followed was electric, Owen's eyes widening with wonder. He pulled her into his arms, laughter mingling with tears. A child, he whispered, his voice thick, our child. The revelation reshaped their future, a promise of legacy beyond wealth or power. Owen vowed to support Leona's dreams, funding her return to Columbia to complete her PhD. He said, "You'll teach the world, and our child will learn from the best." Leona envisioned a future where their child, a blend of Harlem's soul and the Harris legacy, would grow in a world they were reshaping, one of equity and love. They planned a nursery, and its walls were to be painted with murals, inspired by Harlem's vibrancy and the Hamptons' serenity. The gala's aftermath brought new challenges. Claire Winston's final attempt to sow discord via a vicious gossip column, quickly quashed by Owen's legal team. Society's whispers faded, replaced by admiration for the couple who defied odds. Eleanor, beaming with pride, gifted them a family heirloom, a locket inscribed with unity, a symbol of their triumph. As winter deepened, Owen and Leona walked the estate's snowy paths, their hands entwined, the future, a canvas of endless possibility. Leona said, "We've rewritten our story," her breath misting in the cold. Owen kissed her forehead, his voice a vow. And it's only the beginning. Their love, born in the crucible of misunderstanding, had forged a bond unbreakable, a testament to resilience, defiance, and the power of two hearts beating as one. Thank you for joining Owen and Leona's journey through love and triumph. Share your thoughts. How did their story touch you? Like and comment to spread the love, and subscribe to our channel for more romantic tales that capture the heart and soul. Let's celebrate love's power together.